Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a two-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.
Hey, good morning, my friends. Gonna have a great program this morning. I've got Scoff Dahl, the CVB director from Springfield, Illinois, waiting in the wings. It's a delightful 35 degrees here at the studios of Jim Hinckley's America, within spitting distance of Route 66 in Kingman, Arizona. And let's try out your imagination this morning. If you'll take a look to the left, just past that pile of books, we've got a great Arizona sunrise unfolding here this morning. I don't know if you can see that. Scott, how are you this beautiful morning?
Jim, good morning. I'm doing great. It's a little chilly here in Springfield, Illinois as well, but it is December.
Yes, sir, it is. God bless. Oh gosh, thank you for taking time from your schedule today to do this. I was just reading about something in Springfield, and so I was so glad you could join us. Something came up this morning in my somebody had sent me on the Dana Thomas house. Apparently they do some great stuff for Christmas there, and somehow I've missed that place in my travels. I know of it, but I have yet to visit.
Well, I'm sorry you've missed it, but you'll have to take you by for a tour the next time you're in town. Yeah, it's the Frank Lloyd Wright Dana Thomas House. It has 99% of its original contents. It's amazing.
It's neat when people realize they have something special and preserve it for other generations.
Yeah, the state of Illinois, Governor Jim Thompson at the time did an amazing job preserving the Dana Thomas House, and it's really one of our gems. As we look at cultural tourism here in Springfield, we have a lot of it.
Yes, I talk about this a lot lately in meetings, presentations. We have the 250th anniversary of the United States coming up in 2026, the same year as the Route 66 centennial. And what better place to tell America's story than on the main street of America? And one of the standouts there on the main street of America is Springfield. That is America's story made manifest.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we believe so. We believe it's one of our nation's treasures, and certainly the home of Abraham Lincoln, the hub of Route 66 in Illinois. And let's not forget, in 2026, North America is hosting the FIFA World Cup. So, we'll be looking at a record number of international travelers using Chicago as a gateway and moving their way through Route 66 in Illinois.
Yeah, I have a feeling 2026 is going to be a bang up year on Route 66. I just hope people don't become so myopic and narrow minded they can look down a beer bottle with both eyes and see the centennial as a destination instead of the gateway to the bicentennial. How to use the centennial to ensure that Route 66 remains relevant for another century.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, certainly we want to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday, but this centennial is big, and we have been gearing up for the Route 66 centennial since 2018, really, and
Yes.
we tried to shore up our assets and really put our best foot forward here in Springfield, Illinois.
Well, I'll tell you, the folks there in Illinois, in general, Corey Job, yourself, and others, and the folks in Oklahoma, I tell you guys have become the poster child on making Route 66 relevant and making it something that's more than just heads in beds. It's a catalyst for revitalization and economic development.
Yeah, the state of Illinois has invested $16 million in the Route 66 Centennial, and I know Oklahoma's done an amazing job as well, and that state's invested money to get ready for the Centennial, and we're just proud to be a part of it and to showcase some of our original Route 66 assets. We're well beyond just the International Route 66 Mother Road Festival, which will be celebrating its 25th year actually in 2026. But Jim, you know this. We're home of the original hot dog and a stick, the Cozy Dog, right? From the
Yes.
amazing Waldmire family.
Oh, I had the opportunity, and it was one of the great highlights of my life. I became Bob Waldmire, the legendary artist. So much of his works in Pontiac and his bus, but a lot of people don't realize we have a Bob Waldmire mural here in Kingman, Arizona, and a display of his original work at TNT Engineering. But I was very privileged to get to know Bob and, of course, Buzz, his brother. Uh, just a very inspirational fellow.
I love talking to Buzz. Unfortunately, I did not meet Bob, but I do hear his stories, and thank you for having that tribute to Bob Waldmire in Kingman. That's just amazing. I know that he traveled the entire route, and his artistry is everywhere, and we're just proud to be his hometown.
Yeah, he painted this mural actually.
Oh,
TNT Engineering is a 1960s Ford dealership on Route 66, and it's now a Volkswagen and foreign car garage. Has been for 30 years. And when Bob for a while lived out here at Hackberry, Arizona, he would have his bus serviced at TNT Engineering, and in exchange for the work, he painted a mural on the wall there. And it just so happens, another little bit of trivia, and like people who know me, my pa said it's better to fill the head with useless knowledge than no knowledge at all. But the wall that he painted the mural on was the tavern. And the tavern is now a machine shop, but that was the interior scenes for Roadhouse 66 were filmed in that building.
no kidding. Jim, I always learn something from you whenever we have a conversation. I did
Well,
not know. Amazing.
likewise, I always learn something from you, and I always get inspired by what you're doing in Springfield.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I tell you, one of the highlights this past year has been the reopening of Shays gas station uh, after 10 years of being shuttered. We're so thankful, to the family and to Randy Pickett, the current owner, for allowing us to open up the grounds to Shays gas station. We see people there every single day.
That's another one of those landmarks. It's been given a new lease on life because of what you do, building cooperative partnerships and inspiring people with vision. But that's a landmark of the Route 66 Renaissance era, and it's a tangible link that bridges the historic era on Route 66 with the Renaissance era.
It really does. And, it's just a couple blocks south of the Illinois State Fairgrounds Route 66 experience, albeit that's just a couple years new. That showcases the 300 miles of Route 66 in Illinois, all in one setting. So you can go there, you can see the attractions, and then you can venture out right onto the road and
Mhm.
see them in person.
Oh gosh, that Route 66 experience is extraordinary. That really is special. I happened to get some photographs there for a book project just about sunset, and I couldn't have done it better. There was apparently the state of Illinois was doing some promotional video at the time, and they had an Abraham Lincoln impersonator admiring the neon signs at the Route 66 experience. So it really my timing was just perfect on all counts. But that is an amazing attraction.
Yeah, it sounds like your timing was perfect. Yeah, that corner sits on the original Route 66, and
Yes.
we call it Gate 2, and it was Farmer's Little Helper for about 20 years. And Kevin Gordon, then at the time the state fair manager, we were in some conversation, and we started talking about the history of that corner. And he said, you know what, we've been looking to change this out. And why don't you guys come in here and put some kind of Route 66 experience? And we talked about the neon signs. We call it the Jurassic Park of neon signs because the signs were all recreated by a sign company, but none of those signs exist except for, let's say, the A Lincoln Motel sign, which the original sign itself in different pieces is at Motorhead's Bar, Grill, and Museum. But the other signs, Chain of Rock, Bridges, those you can't find those on the route any longer.
The Lincoln Motel. See, that was where the Cozy Dog is now, right? If I remember right.
Yes, yes, you're exactly right. Right next door. Yeah, the original A Lincoln Motel. And another bit of trivia, that was the first sign that a sign company did. So they had the original schematics for that neon sign. And it has been recreated to exactly the way it was in the 1950s.
Even another bonus. Uh, yeah, I was so impressed with that Route 66 experience. And that's a template of how communities can create a. And I see that a lot of communities are starting to do this. Beth Wiles down, I was talking to at Pulaski County Tourism. They're finally moving forward with their neon sign park at an old roadside rest area. And they're going to have to recreate a lot of the historic signage in half or three-quarter scale because a lot of the old signage is gone.
It is, and the other signs that are out there, they're recreated to 66% of their original size. But it's really something. You go there at dusk, what you've done, and it's really special. And I might add, on Saturdays, from 2 to 8 p.m., right next door to the experience is the giant slide that's got the Route 66 shield. It's 4 stories high, so if you're a daredevil, you can climb those steps and soar down Route 66 in the giant slide.
66% scale. I wonder where you came up with that number.
I wonder.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, no, that was the A sign company being clever, and yeah, that was perfect for that experience. And we see hundreds of people traveling through there every single week.
Well, you have the Route 66 festival every year, and then 2026, I understand you're going to be hosting the Miles of Possibility conference.
We will be. We're excited for that. We're excited to invite attendees from all 8 states to attend the Miles of Possibility conference. We're going to blow it out. Obviously, we'll be at Motorhead's Bar, Grill, and Museum. We'll be headquartered downtown. Not only do you have all of our Route 66, including Made Right, which is the first drive-through in America, but we'll have all the Abraham Lincoln sites as well. So it will be one not to miss in 2026 right here in Springfield, Illinois.
Well, the Miles of Possibility conference is really unique. It's a real throwback, a tangible link to the old conventions of the U.S. Highway 66 Association. And of course, in 25, it's going to be in Joliet. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about both events. But the 26th event, with your reputation for throwing parties and creating events, the attractions you have, that's going to be quite an event.
Well, we hope so, and it's great working with the Miles of Possibility, Cheryl, Jed, and crew. We just we're looking forward to that. And hey, and congratulations to Wilmington and the Gemini Giant.
Yes.
The Gemini Giant's back as of yesterday, I believe, and they unveiled it, and just congratulate to that. The Gemini Giant needs to be, standing so that everyone can visit that. What an icon!
Oh, that is, yeah, that's another great win for the Route 66 community because that was definitely an endangered species there for a while.
It was. And speaking of giants, we revealed Big Ron at Motorhead's Bar, Grill, and Museum this year. Big Ron's 3 stories high. He's holding up the world's largest Route 66 shield. Together, it's almost 7 stories call. So that's definitely an Instagrammable moment you won't want to miss.
Motorheads, man, I don't even know how you describe. Motorheads is one of those places you don't have words for it, and even pictures don't do it justice. That's a place you have to experience. You just flat have to experience that.
Absolutely agree. You go there, get yourself something to eat and drink, and really just take your time through the museum portion. Of course, the entertainment complex, the Motor Dome, is really something to catch some live music or watch a football game or, on their 30-foot digital screen. And then you walk inside to, the original Stuckies and that ceiling inside, one of four Stuckies that have a wood ceiling. It's just in awe. Oh, and don't forget about Ron's '69 Camaro that he's got up in the rafters that he literally drove the wheels off of. That's something to see.
Being an old Stuckies, this is another thing that I find really exciting with places like Motorheads. The blurring of the line between past and present. Here you have a tangible link to Route 66, tangible link to a great American story, tangible link to a roadside classic, and a modern incarnation, a roadside classic for future generations, all in one location.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're so fortunate that, Ron has invested in Motorheads and really brought his collection out for the public to see. He's been, collecting for 40 years. And so we're just such an asset for us, and we're just so fortunate to have them in the Springfield area.
Yeah, that's you mentioned Shay's station. Unfortunately, when he passed away and they sold the station, I know most of his collection and things were sold off. Has some of that been returned to the station now? Or?
It's not all of it. A few items have been returned to the station. Now, I want to remind you, the grounds are open right now. We're hoping that Randy Pickett, the owner, will have the inside open in 2026, but that's still to be seen. But yeah, speaking of Motorheads, you can go right out to Motorheads in the museum part, or the original building lettering, and he's even got some of Bill Shay's equipment and his mechanic's uniform, which I think is the jewel, is hanging in the museum.
Bill Shay, I only had the chance to meet the gentleman twice. Yeah, we're passing the torch fast, and us old timers, you got to be about my age, close to 70, to really have an association with Route 66 when it was Route 66. And Bill was that connection. He managed to bridge that gap, so I'm glad to see the station is back. It's a great memorial to him, a great tribute.
It really is, and we can't thank the Shea family enough for allowing us to be in there, and we might have some special surprises for maybe late 25 and early 2026. There might be some storytelling on the property, possibly from a Bill Shea Senior reenactor. We'll see. So we're working on that right now.
Are there any recordings of Bill telling his story about
There
his
is.
time?
There is the Illinois Route 66 Scenic Byway. You can go to their YouTube channel, and they've got Bill Shea being interviewed, and I mean that's such a gem for us, and so fortunate that the Byway made those recordings so that we could capture Bill in his own words.
We created a Kingman. I've been working with Kingman Main Street and Talisman Magic Marketing here on a multifaceted project to create a narrated, self-guided historic district walking tour in Kingman using QR code technology. And something like that interview would probably work really well where using the QR code, you can bring it to life. You can have the audio narration, historic photos. Yeah. Bill had
I
quite
love
a
what you've done in
story.
Kingdom. I love what you've done in Kingdom with the QR codes. We are just unveiling our Stewards of Route 66 oral histories. we started with the Cozy Dog, and we'll have 17 oral histories that'll launch on the Visit Springfield social media channels over the next year and a half through the centennial. So your listeners should be, looking out for those because that was a very important project. And really, it was the byways, recording of Bill Shea that really inspired us to capture more of those oral histories.
Yeah, they're really important. We're a little bit late, actually, on trying to capture some of these oral histories, but better late than never. But there's so many of these folks. We're just getting up there. We've got so many icons of Route 66 and players they're getting, well, they're aging out on us.
They are, and we wanted to capture them now. And so, I think, we'll be, again, rolling those out over the next year and a half. And we've got some amazing interviews that we just can't wait for people to listen to.
I hadn't thought of this in quite some time. I'll have to do some digging. I lost track. There was a fellow named John Robinson. He wrote a book in the mid 1990s, and I will post it when I post this blog, post this podcast on the website and as a blog. I'll put a link for this book. It was called Lives on the Road. It was done in the mid 90s. And John Robinson was kind of an eccentric. He traveled the road in a 1950 DeSoto. And he interviewed people all up and down the road for this book. And some of it was recordings. And it seems to me that he interviewed a highway patrolman, as I recall, from that was based in Pontiac, Illinois, after World War II in the 40s and the 50s, patrolling Route 66. And I started looking for John some years ago, and he had moved to some place called Gothenburg, Nebraska. But I'm making a note to myself to renew that search and see if he still has those recordings.
That would be great. I'd love to check that out.
Yeah. The Abraham Lincoln sites that you have, of course, right on Route 66, the library, museum. Oh gosh, those are highly recommended by.
They are, and Lincoln Home sits right on the original Route 66, so that's fun. And of course, the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library Museum, which will be celebrating 20 years next year. Has been here. It's certainly a jewel for us. And of course, you can go pay your respects at Lincoln's tomb, where the president is buried. So yeah, we're couldn't be prouder to have the old state capitol and all the other Lincoln sites, as well as being the capital of Illinois, right? Our Capitol complexes are going through a $300 million renovation, and they will be reopened to the public in 2026.
Oh, perfect timing. Another thing that Springfield is perfectly suited for, and I had this conversation with Ann Slanina at the recent Miles of Possibility conference, is developing kid-friendly, family-friendly travel itineraries, schedules, things to see. And of course, your Lincoln sites lend themselves perfectly to this, but also the Kidseum there in Springfield. That's
Absolutely. The Kidseum right downtown, within walking distance of all the Lincoln sites downtown. And, we just revealed a new mural, a Route 66 mural to the Route 66 Flyway. And I think you just did a episode with Jeff Ladd with the Byway. And so Jeff is behind that. We appreciate his efforts there. But we have got a new Route 66 Kids exhibit that we'll be working on, and it'll be available by June 30th of 2025.
This is kind of I don't know where to go with this one either, but 2026 is also the 90th anniversary of the Green Book for the Negro Motorist. And I know some communities are looking into ways to tie that in as well to further tell the American story. Do you have any plans or projects associated with the Negro Motorist Green Book?
We do. Actually, Route History tells the story of the black traveler during the Jim Crow and the Civil Rights eras using the Green Book.
Oh,
And
excellent.
they have a virtual reality component that's really incredible, and it's something you want to experience. And not only will you learn a lot about that, but Gina and Stacy have done a really great job of telling that story. And it's right down a couple blocks from the Lincoln home. So you can check out the Lincoln home, walk a couple blocks south, and root history is right there.
That is another. That's pretty extraordinary. That's another one. It looks like my next visit's going to be a little longer in Springfield. There's more things to see than I've. Wow. Yeah. This is exciting. I know this is uncomfortable for a lot of people. This chapter, but it's so important to tell America's story in its entirety, because if we don't do that, if we just pick the pieces we like, it's kind of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle and pulling out the red pieces because those colors bother us. We never have a complete picture that way. So this is a great part of the story, most definitely.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. We're home of the great emancipator, and then we have the 1908 race riots, which there will be a memorial site for that. National Park Service announced that, and they'll be managing the 1908 race riot sites. But then we come back to being one of the few towns that there were sundown towns around, and this was a safe haven. Springfield was a safe haven city for the African American traveler,
So
and to spend the night here. So you're right. It does get uncomfortable with those things we need to talk about.
we do, because to me, these chapters are milestones. They're milestones on, we look back on this and we can see how far we've progressed as a nation, moving towards those lofty goals enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, and how much further we have to go. But it's just really important to for healing, for national healing, and gosh, just telling the story in its entirety. The Springfield race riots, that period, really surprises a lot of people. The Tulsa situation is pretty well known. Springfield, not as much, or even worse, the ones down in East St. Louis about 1917. But
Yeah,
that's
the
another.
1908 race riots led to the formation of the NAACP.
Yes.
And yes, it did. And certainly, again, it's a period that we need to learn from, especially as we look forward to celebrating our 250th anniversary as a nation.
Yeah.
Uh, we've got to tell these stories, and we've got to memorialize these events, even though it's a mark that we're not real proud of in Springfield. We need to tell these stories. But I think the bounce back for our area, and certainly for Tulsa, is also a story you need to tell.
Yeah, it's got to be told in its entirety, because, like, say, this, you show the dark side, the warts, but it shows how far we've come, and yeah, that's just really important. And a lot of people are also surprised that there's such a rich Native American history in your area.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And we celebrate that. I know the Illinois State Museum has got several exhibits on Native American history, and that's again right downtown, within walking distance. And so yeah, we've got a mix here for sure, and that's why we feel like we're the capital of cultural tourism, and you can really look at it from different aspects, from the road to Lincoln to Illinois history.
One of the things that's you mentioned, virtual reality at the museum there, and then also at the Lincoln Museum, bringing these technologies, the modern technologies, into the mix really adds a new dimension to this. What can be done with experiential tourism and making it relevant for a new generation?
Absolutely. And I think, your listeners, when they visit Springfield, they've got to check out the Ghost of the Museum at the AOPLM. And I want them to come back and shoot me a message and let me know if they think that the the person telling the story at the time if he's real or not. There's debate about that. it's 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 a holograph show, so I'll just kind of give you that hint.
Was it the hologram in the library?
In the museum part, in the Ghost of the Museum, it's that 15-minute production,
Yes,
and
but
it's really special.
Yes, that has a hint of Disney magic to it, and
It does. Yes, it's certainly Disney inspired for sure.
that really, what I got out of that when I was there, I've been there twice and watched that. I was very impressed. But what I really, the people, watching the people's face, especially the younger folks under 16, watching their faces was that was really something. You had their full attention.
Absolutely. No, we see it every time I go in there, and I take in that show, and it never gets old. That show never gets old, and it's just fun. And you're right. At the end, especially, you see the mouth open wide and like, what just happened there? And it's really something special.
My goodness. You're also putting together some, you got so many great things. A mural trail coming together, wayside exhibits.
Yes. So we revealed the mural trail this summer, and it really connects Williamsville, which is just about 8 miles north of Springfield, through Springfield with Auburn and the Brick 66. We have to mention the Brick 66, that mile stretch of paved brick just south of Springfield. And the mural trail just really links all that together. Along with the wayside exhibits, we added 12 wayside exhibits this year. They look like the Illinois Route 66 byways exhibits that they put up about 10 years ago. So they're all consistent in that sense. But yeah, we have plans to reopen a quarter-mile stretch of Route 66 called the Carpenter Park segment that hasn't seen open to the public in 70 years. We're looking to reopen that by next summer.
Is that near the Lake Springfield by chance?
That's actually north. It's just outside of Sherman. It's technically Springfield, but just outside of Sherman, right next to the rail golf course.
Okay.
And the old iron bridge sat at the bottom, and you can still see the supports near the bottom when you get to the end of the trail. It's just really fascinating, and it's got 1922 concrete, so it predates Route 66. It's in great shape, amazing shape, really. And um, they were building the bridge for Route 66, and of course, while they were building it, they asked to use that segment, and for about 5 years, that the old iron bridge and that segment was used for Route 66, and it's got original curbing. It's I think 16 feet wide, so it's really something special. We can't wait to reopen that to the public.
You know, for people, for some people, you know, when we start talking about getting excited about old pavement, they just stare at me with a blank look. But this is highway engineering evolution. It's a tangible link to highway evolution, and so to me, yeah, that's pretty spectacular. So that'd be Old State Highway 4 with the concrete curbing and the concrete paving.
Yes, you're right. Yes, and so and again, it's like stepping back in time. I mean, it's like stepping back to the 1920s. When I'm on it, I just can't believe how well it's been preserved. But you know, thankful to the Carter brothers family, they've just secured that segment there and have just allowed us an opportunity to reopen it to the public. And again, it's been 70 years since really most people have set foot on it, and I think it's going to be something really really special for travelers.
Oh, I agree. I fully agree. That 70-year abandonment is one reason it's probably been preserved so well, you know,
Yeah,
without the heavy traffic. Gosh, you've got some great old alignments of Route 66. There's the section that drops down into the Lake Springfield, that Cotton Hill Road out that way.
Yes, and that is north, or excuse me, south. That is south. It's near Motorheads,
Yeah.
and there is some original paved brick on Cotton Hill Road. It's about a 200-yard stretch, and you're exactly right, Jim. The original Route 66, before they built Springfield Lake, ran through there, and then to put the lake in, they had to flood that section of Route 66. And we've been trying to find some way to have a mini ferry or some kind of experience on the lake over the top of that. Uh, but that's a little more challenging. But yes, that we have our eye on that 200-yard stretch of original paved brick at Cotton Hill Road.
I'm not surprised. Like say, you always get me excited because you have such passion and enthusiasm, and you've got a vision, and you're always pursuing these things. I was having a conversation with a couple people about ghost towns along Route 66 a while back, and there's I don't know if you knew about the town of Cotton Hill, which is it's now at the bottom of the lake, but that was along that section of Route 66. It's a town that probably dates back to pre-Civil War.
I don't know about that. You're got me intrigued at this point. Yeah, I got to do some research on that.
I'll send you all the notes I have on it. It apparently it was a pottery kiln. That was their primary industry, was pottery. But I'll send you all the notes I have on it.
Please do. No, I knew about the levee district in downtown Springfield, but this is yeah, very intriguing. I want to see that.
There's so many different layers to these things that just make it interesting. Springfield is one of these places that you got the Route 66 connection, and people know about Abraham Lincoln, but it really Springfield could easily be a destination. You could lose yourself for 3, 4, 5, 6 days in Springfield without any problems at all.
That's interesting you say that because that is the number one response at our visitor center, which, by the way, is inside the Lincoln Herndon law offices where Lincoln practiced law. And when we ask travelers stopping by and we welcome them, we usually have the responses, we wish we would have reserved some more time. And so in 2018, we came up with a logo that says exactly that. We're more than one day. And it has resonated. We've seen the amount of time visitors are spending here go up, and they're staying longer, and they're having a better experience for it. So yes, we're absolutely at least a day, if not 2 days.
Well, this is so important for communities because Americans, for whatever reasons, and that's a story for another discussion for another day, but Americans don't do the 2 week vacation. So 3 and 4 day weekends is what people. That's what we do. And communities need to see the international traveler. They see Route 66 as a destination. But for the American traveler, they have to do this like eating an elephant, one bite at a time, and picking places where they can spend 3, 4 days and explore and do things. That's a key to developing tourism right now for American audiences.
I don't disagree. We're a great place for a long weekend. And by the way, we have welcomed travelers from 75 different countries this year at our visitor center. I think that's an amazing stat. And those are just the visitors stopping by our center. Uh, but that's truly international for sure.
Yes.
Springfield and Illinois in the whole.
Anybody who's seen me or knows me, you can tell that you get in this kind of shape because you like good food and good pie. And I'd be really remiss talking about Springfield if we didn't talk about Maldenar's restaurant.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, certainly one of the oldest restaurants on Route 66, and it's such a treat to go there. And what about the horseshoe sandwich? I mean, if
Yes.
we're talking about eating, the horseshoe sandwich originated right here in Springfield at the Leland Hotel, and we have a horseshoe trail, so you can download the trail and try out the different restaurants. We have over 30 restaurants that have horseshoes, and for those that are thinking, what is a horseshoe sandwich? It's uh, Texas toast, a protein with French fries piled high, and cheese sauce dripped on top of the entire plate. And for those that maybe the horseshoe is just a little too much, we offer a pony shoe as well.
The horseshoe trail, I can see it now. You could try all these different horseshoes, and the last stop on the trail would be a cardiologist office.
Well, I think if you ate them every day, possibly, but you can
Yeah.
get away with eating, two or three of them.
Yes. I was down with Joe Sonderman in Edwardsville at the Miles of Possibility conference, and ended up at I think it was Sergeant Pepper's downtown Edwardsville, and they did a great. Yeah, that was delicious, absolutely delicious. Maldener's restaurant. Let's see, they opened what 1884.
That's about right. Yes,
Yeah,
1884, and Michael Higgins has continued the tradition there. I hear the beef Wellington is really, really good too at Molden's. I heard
I
that's
got to
that's
write
a
that
classic.
down.
Yeah.
Well, something else I got to eat. Yeah, I'm a sucker for these things, and gosh,
By the way, that's right across the street from our visitor center at the Lincoln Hundred Law Office. And the Illinois Department of Natural Resources is going to be reopening the law offices to tours in the next couple of years. So it'll be opened by the centennial, and visitors will be able to have a tour once again. It's been about a decade since tours were offered at the Lincoln Hundred Law offices. So that's something else that's coming down the pipeline.
gosh. Well, you're busier than a one-legged man in a behind kicking contest around there, Scott.
I have a great team. You know that we have over 200 years of tourism experience at Visit Springfield. So I'm blessed to have an amazing team, a lot of longtime friends, and they make it look easy. They really do.
Well, that's a testimony to your leadership skills to have a team in place, be able to keep a team, to build a team, and yeah, that's a testimony to your leadership skills. Was there any? I've got the website here for everyone, and I'll put this on the when I do the blog post and publish this. Visit springfieldillinois.com. By the way, that's an exceptionally well done website.
Thank you again. I'll give props to the team that maintain the website, all the content, the visuals. They do an incredible job every day, in and out. And so there's a lot there. It is a heavy website, a lot of information. You'll find what you're looking for, from events to the attractions to the horseshoe trail. You name it, it's all there on our website.
Now, you say the 25th anniversary of the Route 66 festival is in 26?
It is. We celebrated 25 years in 2026. That International Route 66 Motherhood Festival was born from the Springfield Convention Visitor Bureau team going on a sales mission to Germany. And, the team at the time, Kim Rosendahl, said, talking about Abraham Lincoln, and they kept saying, well, what about Route 66? And, the German traveler really wanted to experience that Americana and what's on Route 66. Not that they certainly don't appreciate Abraham Lincoln and the sites, but they really were focused on Route 66. And Kim came back and went to the state of Illinois, and the Motherhood Festival was born.
That's quite an event. What are the dates for that, Scott?
Uh, 2025 will be September 26th to the 28th, the last
Okay.
weekend in September.
It's always the last weekend in September, right?
Always the last weekend in September, yes.
Okay.
And as you can imagine, in 2026, we'll be adding components, including the Bankett Springfield Convention Center will have a large show there. But some of the favorites, the burnout competition will return. We had 1,100 cars this year that were registered. Those will continue. The Route 66 Film Festival will also be included. But we'll be adding components. We'll be adding some stars across the country. Chris Jacobs was here this past year. He was great. Matter of fact, he'd take the burnout competition, and a 79-year-old and a 59 Cadillac won the burnout, and his video from that had 5 million views the last time I checked.
Oh, yeah. For everyone listening this morning, I've got a great trivia question for you. Because I'm curious, what tire company originally came up with the idea for a burnout contest? I'm just curious. Uh, I know that had to be sponsored by a tire company at some point, but that's a very, very popular uh, event.
Do you want me to guess?
Yes, please.
I'm guessing Firestone. That'll be my guess.
Yeah. Oh, it makes, yeah. Firestone and Ford, they were together quite a lot on different projects. Most interesting. I'm just adding this to my calendar here. We've got Chris Tuttle with us this morning from Arizona Podcast, and he has an ambitious project. Even though his podcast centers a lot in the Southwest, he's trying to build a comprehensive event calendar for all Route 66 events and festivals for the next 2 years. So our international travelers and other travelers can plan in attendance and add that to their travel schedule. I wish Chris luck on that. But
Absolutely.
there's one for you to add, Chris, is the International Route 66 Festival in Springfield. Scott, I really appreciate. I know thank you for taking time from your Sunday morning for this, and I greatly appreciate it. I hope we've inspired some road trips or two here this morning.
Well, thank you, Jim, and I certainly appreciate not only your dedication, but telling the story of Route 66 and everything you've done over the years to promote Route 66. And happy holidays to everybody.
Hey, thank you. It's a team effort. Uh, Nolan Stoltz asked if the festival was run by your organization, Scott.
Oh, they have their own board and in support of the city of Springfield. So no, we do not organize it. They've got their own standing board, but we certainly support it monetarily and then obviously promoting it on the destination marketing side.
Very good. Well, you've always been very good there in Springfield about realizing the importance of cooperative partnerships, working with other organizations and entities and other communities in the neighborhood.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we recognize that you can't do anything alone. You've got to have collaboration and cooperation, and it just makes it stronger when you bring other groups in. So collaboration is one of our core values for sure.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, a lot of communities don't get that. They just it really surprises me that the people who don't get that. The one that really surprises me the most are communities that still don't understand the potential behind tapping into Route 66. That always shocks me when I go into a community and start talking to them, and they somehow have missed that, and that surprises me the most.
Yeah, we're fortunate here. When we brought our plans and our projects to not only the city of Springfield, but the byway in the state of Illinois, we've had so much support. And, I think the centennial in front of us, but, we're thinking beyond the centennial. We're hopeful that Route 66 will be designated a National Historic Trail. I know there's some legislation moving through right now. Thank you, Representative Darren LaHood and Durbin and Duckworth for working on that, from Illinois side anyway. And I know we have legislators from the other 7 states working on that as well. But that's going to be very important for the route, is to be designated that National Historic Trail so we can continue the efforts over the next 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, we cannot be just myopic on the centennial, because the centennial is not a destination. It's just the end of one chapter and the beginning of another on Route 66.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And, we need to capture that Americana, that feeling of the open road, and those experiences along the way. And, we need to weave in, all these original items with the new generations having their items on Route 66, something to claim and something that they can move forward with. And so, things like, the new giants like Big Ron and the giant that we have at the Experience, the new one there, and really capturing that time for the new generation will be important as we move towards the next couple decades.
And the technology is a big part of this. The technologies are evolving so fast to move history, if you will, beyond just dusty exhibits. Things like you mentioned there at the Abraham Lincoln Museum. Augmented reality. There's a company I've been talking with out of England, Zuber Curio. They just completed installation of a project for the National Park Service at a Revolutionary War battlefield in South Carolina. But the gist of it is they're binoculars, but instead of putting in your quarter like you used to and seeing, off the Empire State Building, you're transported back in time. You're looking back in time, and
Cool.
yes, they've done work for Parthenon in Greece and some other attractions internationally. And I was talking to them about bringing that to Route 66. I can just see some real potential in something like that.
Absolutely. No, I think that's very cool. I can see that as well.
Scott, again, thank you very, very much for taking time this morning. I want to thank everybody who joined us. Looks like we got a pretty full house here, all kinds of folks from South Carolina and Arizona and a few other places in between. We will have this published later today, and we have an embedded player on the Jim Hinckley's America website. I've made arrangements to have an embedded player for archive programs on several websites. The B.News is the largest tri-state media source for the Colorado River Valley. I have an embedded player there. I have one on the Kingman Tours website. And anybody who wants to have an embedded player for these programs, I'll provide the code for embedding. And of course, it's also archived on the when it's published, it'll be on Spotify and most podcast platforms. We also have a dedicated Coffee with Jim website on Podbean with the archived programs. So for future reference, you can always go back to these conversations. We're going to do this again, of course, next week, same time. And got some great, like Scott had mentioned last week, we talked to Jeff Ladd about the Monarch Flyway. That was kind of an interesting program, a different take on linking Route 66 to something conservation-wise. Coming up, we've got Whitney Ortiz is going to talk to us about international travel. And then it's going to kick the year off with some great conversation with Kaiser Barthuli of the National Park Service Route 66 Corridor Preservation Program. There's a lot of great things coming down the pike there. And I've got another one here for you that I think you're going to really like. We're going to take a little bit of a side trip from Route 66 and talk with Gloria Nash. She has an interesting book about the World's Fair in New York. And we'll be talking to her pretty soon. So we got lots of things coming down the pike to inspire a road trip or two. So, Scott, again, thank you. And until we meet again, my friends, well, we'll do this again next week about the same time. And we'll bid adios with a little bit of music from, Joe and Woody and my friends there with the road crew out of Nashville, Tennessee. For great road trip inspiring music, check out their website, roadcrew66.com. Vaya con Dios, mi amigos. Thank you, Scott.
Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a 2-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.
Welcome back to Coffee with Jim, everyone. I hope you all had a chance to refill your mugs during the break.
Always a good idea. Gotta stay caffeinated for these deep dives.
Absolutely. And speaking of deep dives, we just took a fantastic journey through Springfield, Illinois with Scott Dahl.
It's really amazing how much history and culture are packed into that city. A lot of folks might just think of it as Lincoln's hometown, but there's just so much more to explore.
Yeah, it's definitely not just a one-note destination.
Yeah.
I mean, the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, that's a must-see for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think what really struck me was all the other things Springfield has to offer. Scott was talking about the Dana Thomas House, for example.
Oh, wow. Now that's a real hidden gem. Not hidden, I guess, since it's a pretty famous example of Frank Lloyd Wright's work. But still, you know what I mean.
Right. Like everyone knows who Frank Lloyd Wright is.
Right.
And everyone knows his houses are special. But to actually hear Scott describe it.
It's like stepping back in time. And it's not just the architecture either. It's the furniture, the details.
Yeah, he was saying how Wright designed everything, down to the last detail. It's a complete work of art.
A total immersive experience, right?
Yeah.
You're not just looking at a house, you're experiencing Wright's vision.
And that's what I think is so cool about Springfield. You've got these different layers of history and art and culture all woven together. You can explore Lincoln's legacy, but you can also delve into the world of Frank Lloyd Wright. Or maybe something else entirely.
There's something there for everyone, honestly.
And speaking of, we can't go without giving a massive shout out to Scott Dahl, our guest today. I mean, he's the CVB director for Springfield.
Yeah.
And his insights were just
invaluable, really. I mean, you can read guidebooks and articles all day long, but there's nothing like hearing it straight from someone who lives and breathes Springfield.
Exactly. His passion for the city really shines through, and it made this whole deep dive that much more enriching.
Totally agree. So, Scott, if you're listening, thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us.
Absolutely. And of course, we have to thank the man behind the microphone, our host, Jim Hinckley, for always steering us towards these amazing destinations.
Couldn't do it without you.
And most importantly, we want to thank all of you, our amazing listeners. Without your curiosity and enthusiasm, Coffee with Jim wouldn't be possible. So thank you for being part of this journey with us.
We really appreciate you being here.
Now, before we wrap things up, we want to take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsors who help make Coffee with Jim possible.
They're the ones that keep the coffee brewing, so to speak.
So a big thank you to Enchanted Trails Trading Post and RV Park in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
A great place to stop if you're heading west.
And Roadrunner Lodge Motel in Tucumcari, New Mexico.
Right on Route 66. Can't beat that.
Road Trip USA for helping travelers plan those epic American road trips.
Every road trip needs a good plan.
Cactus Inn Motel in McLean, Texas. A true Route 66 classic.
They don't make them like that anymore.
And last but certainly not least, the iconic Wagon Wheel Motel in Cuba, Missouri.
A must-see for any Route 66 enthusiast.
A huge thanks to all of our sponsors for their support. Be sure to check them out if you're planning a road trip.
And if this deep dive into Springfield has sparked your wanderlust,
well, you're in luck, because you can actually revisit this episode or explore other destinations we've covered on Spotify and other podcast platforms.
Just search for Coffee with Jim, and you'll find a whole library of travel adventures just waiting to be discovered.
You can also find us on the Coffee with Jim website on Podbean.
That's right. And we've also got embedded players on the Bee, Jim Hinckley's America, and Kingman Tours websites.
So many ways to listen. And speaking of listening, be sure to tune in next week for another exciting episode of Coffee with Jim.
We'll be exploring a new destination and uncovering more hidden gems across America.
So until then, happy travels, everyone.
And keep that coffee brewing.